All right, guys, this is JC. So I'm down here at Liberty Cycle in Hinesville, Georgia. So today we're going to be looking at a Sportsman 450 in red. It's a 450 HO. It's fuel injected. So one of the things I wanted to say about Polaris is they've been making ATVs since 1985. This place has been around that long. And one thing that I've always liked about them is they probably got one of the best rides out of an ATV that I've ever ridden. A lot of vehicles now are starting to go to the fully independent suspension like these are. But this particular version has the McPherson strut in the front, which is non-adjustable. And they've been running these for years now, hell, even back in the early 2000s. I think even before that, they had them on the old trail bosses and stuff like that. So this right here is your base model Polaris. It's pretty comparable to the Honda Rancher. It's got a little bit more powerful engine, and overall it's got a bigger stance to it compared to a Honda Rancher, and more power if you ask me. And you get a little bit more for your money with one of these. So compared to like the Honda Rancher or the Kodiak would probably more compare to this than the Honda Rancher. So the Honda Rancher does come in IRS, but you're spending closer upward to $8,000 for that. And it also has power steering. So this model automatically already has a 12-volt accessory. Has your full gauge pod here, which is pretty nice. I think it has everything from, you know, your tells you high when you start it up. It's got the fuel gauge clock, tells you what the engine RPMs is, speedometer, tells you when you're in four-wheel drive and all. And Polaris has always had the all-wheel drive all the time. Whenever you swap it over, you got four wheels spinning all the time. So it don't really slip like a lot of the older ones, or you'll notice where they don't have diff lock on them, and they'll have one wheel spinning, one wheel won't. So the way Polaris has worked is when you lock it into all-wheel drive, it actually has where if it senses the back wheels slipping, the front wheels will engage fully, both front wheels, with no slipping, and allow you to go over your obstacle or whatever. So it's a pretty cool system. It's always worked pretty well from what I've recognized, so I've always enjoyed it. Another cool thing about these compared to, like, say, I know I'm beating up on the Honda Rancher, and it's not saying that it's a bad machine or anything, but these have storage out the yin-yang, which I'm a storage guru, man. I like it. So it's got this big area in the front where you can fit pretty much anything you want in there, like chains or pull straps or whatever. So as you can see, I like that. Now, as opposed to my Grizzly, like I showed you guys, it has a storage trunk right here on the tank, you know, which I like that. But this one here, you know, it's not too far away. And it's got the little water seal on here where you can, you know, it pretty much keep a little bit of water and nasty debris out of there. But I love this. And Polaris's plastic is pretty durable. Now, one thing that I would say that that Polaris, they have a lot of interlocking stuff that can lock onto these that are made to lock on here. Now, these poles on here, or these bars, they're a little fat to put a lot of hooks on, but you can get stuff hooked on there. But you see how fat they are? A lot of times it's hard to get like bungee cords and stuff like that on them. So it kind of, yeah, but it's okay. They've had this same gear selector for the longest time. It's got high and low range, neutral, reverse, and a park. And I believe that they still even have like the park brake, where you can actually pull it down and lock it in there like that, which is nice to have, because a lot of the automatics these days only have a park on them. They don't have the park brake anymore. Now, Polaris's braking system they've had for quite a while. It's a single lever braking system, which when you mash it, obviously that means it hits the front and the rear at the same time. But you also have a foot brake right there that activates only the rear brake on them, which is great. Ride quality of these things, it's, like I said, probably bar none compared to a lot of the other ones. A lot of IRSs ride pretty similar, but the Sportsman has always been a really good rider for the most part. Also, when I was speaking on storage, there's another one in the back right here. Got a little area there where you can put stuff too. Obviously, I wouldn't put anything in there that has water issues or anything like that. But you can store your tools in there, a tow strap, whatever you want to put in there. So it's pretty good, not too bad. So if you look at the rear suspension on these, you can adjust the rear shocks, which is great. So those are preload set adjustable for, you know, like if you put a trailer on here, because it has an 1.25 inch receiver on the back. Some machines now are starting to go to a 2-inch receiver on some of the bigger, more powerful machines. But I believe Polaris has like an 1.25 inch receiver on the back of all theirs. But I believe this thing here is rated to pull somewhere around 1,000 pounds, maybe a little bit more. But they do pretty good. It does have disc brakes in the rear. Right there, single disc, which is exposed to the elements. Some of the new machines now are starting to go to where they have a sealed brake in the rear. This one has dual disc brakes in the front, right there behind the strut. These are liquid cooled, they're not air cooled, so that's a good thing. One thing I've always liked about the Sportsman is, I think for as long as they've been making them, just about, they've always had the uplight, and I believe that it only comes on when you have the high beams on. And, let's see, let's double check that. There we go. Yeah, so the bottom ones go off. Yeah, so it only comes on when the high beams are on, so that's correct. High beam comes on and then they go off. Now, which that's, to me, like for example on my Yamaha, whenever I cut my high beam on, I have all 3 headlights on. So essentially, like the bottom ones kind of act like the fog light, and the top one acts as your, you know, your regular high beam. Now, what's pretty cool about that is whenever you turn, the light's going to go with you. As opposed to a lot of them, you know, you can put a searchlight on, you know, I think some people get like the spotlight or whatever that can mount on your handlebars and you can turn it. So that's pretty cool. And I think Polaris done a pretty cool job making it look real futuristic. Now, one thing that a lot of people have heard that are not Polaris fans is that their handlebars are really high. So if you see them, you can see that there's like a rise underneath the gauge pod and the headlight, and then you got your bars up another, you know, half a foot or a foot more, which is like pretty high for a lot of four-wheelers. Like if you look at the Grizzly I have, and even my Suzuki, the handlebars are a little bit lower because you don't have as much room in between the gas tank area and the top. Now, I know a lot of models are starting to move their gas tank to the rear of their four-wheeler, and what that does is it helps with ergonomics as far as top heavy. So Polaris hasn't quite gotten that yet. They still got theirs up top, which is not a bad design. I mean, that's the way they've been forever. But for now, I prefer having my tank lower and back because it helps create a lower center of gravity. But awesome machine, got plenty of power. The fuel injection version definitely made a big difference because I used to have one that was carbureted. Belt life's not too bad on these things. Polaris has gotten a whole lot better with that. But yeah, awesome machine if you're thinking about getting it. And the price range on these are right around the $6,000 range. And that's not bad for an IRS machine that's fully automatic with all your gauges and stuff like that. And you know, you can't beat that. So if you're thinking about getting a entry-level 450 down here at Liberty Cycle in Hinesville, Georgia, can't beat it. Have a good one.